Okay, let's see how loud everybody gets now. Can you answer a YouTube question regarding when they take videos down? I started watching a video concerning a Seattle shooting in May. Stopped briefly, went back, then it said browser doesn't support content HTML5. They pulled the video for some reason, or love your tenacity. No, it's just because I'm too stupid to give up. I know they are assholes that kowtow whoever. I guess it's just a censorship again. When it says it doesn't support HTML5 or whatever, it could be your browser doing it. Could be a dozen other things. Also, lately, YouTube and Google have been doing the whole lame ducking thing of saying, I can't do that right now. Sometimes they do it just because they don't like your channel or don't like what you're viewing, and it becomes pretty obvious because it only seems to happen when you're logged in and they're trying to keep track of you to do market research purposes data. So, you know, it could be anything. So let's get on to the next one. I did a couple of videos. One of them is Joe Napoli retraced his steps to Tropicana brass that doesn't work for a shooter of any kind. And that still stands. The location he was bringing up is not a good place to find any kind of brass that would be involved in the shooting, because it wouldn't be able to, it's not a location you could shoot from. And then making a mythos of it being, well, it could have been anywhere. Well, it could have been out of town. Or it was a helicopter. That doesn't work. It's just more bullshit. I also pointed out that 3813 Giles Street at 10:36 local time, someone said he was dropping rounds, it's mine, and then by 11:10 p.m. he said, I'm short 23 rounds, which is about the number that Joe Napoli talked about finding. And also there's a sign of somebody finding them. And they're probably the rounds that the police officer was using. They could have been anything. Most people don't know what a shell casing looks like, and they're called whole shell casings, whatever. And yes, there are, I pointed out in a video, but I didn't actually reveal it, there are full brass shells that people use that are about the same size. If you're not aware of it, a 35, 38 caliber range is the size of the shell casing for a 223 and 5.56 round. But 38 special shells sometimes look a little bit like the same size. There's also a type of shotgun that's around that size that is they have a full brass shell for it. There's also a similar thing that's used for literally driving nails into cement. There's a dozen things it could be, including random things that are not associated with being guns. And unless you physically collect one of them or take a fucking photo, which everybody could have done. I mean, I was too busy running for my life when the original assertion it was after the shooting, but okay, you didn't go back and check on it. Then you don't have any evidence of anything. A lack of evidence is not proof that something didn't happen, but it does mean it makes it really hard to evaluate what you're saying. And the guy named Joe Napoli may or may not be the YouTube channel that comes to my channel every once in a while and pisses all over me for it. He's not allowed to post anymore because he flatly refuses to confirm himself as being the one that's on the Twitter page or whatever that really is him. So I'm not going to listen to that person anymore because I'm assuming it's an impersonator. But you can decide otherwise. I don't have to give a shit. But a police officer saying, one police officer out of hundreds that night, saying he dumped some rounds by accident, it could have happened as well. It could have also been somebody else just pouring out empty shell casings because they went shooting on a weekend or whatever and had some in the car and tossed them out onto the parking lot. And again, this was in the parking lot at a location that shooting from would not be practical. It is not relevant. Unless you need to make it relevant because you're trying to exonerate Stephen Paddock, the murderer. I don't know why, or I don't have to care anymore. It's the current year. It's 2019. We're going on a period of time now where your assertions have to be bombshell important. They're not. This is somebody who said he saw stuff that looked like brass casings. Okay, that doesn't mean anything, and the location is useless. So let's just dredge it up some more. You just crap-teched on another one of your theories. Hey, buddy. There were shell casings found at a few spots that weren't police issue. You don't know that because nobody made that issue of information. Nobody told us that. And now are you inventing this out of your ass? Where'd you get it from? It's been X number of years and you can't give a citation. Can't tell me where you got it from. I tracked down a YouTube video that people said they were quoting and put up the video. The reason I did it is everyone was deliberately misquoting it because most of you are propagandists at this point. You want to keep your your hobby going. This isn't a hobby for me. I was genuinely curious if there was any sign of a second shooter. To date, if anybody's curious about this, the most effective way anybody has found to do a mass shooting is to not have help. It seems counterintuitive, and it is, But also I should point out that a single shooter does not increase the likelihood of gun control. Most of you don't get that. If you knew there were mobs of murderers, mob bosses. Remember? You know, Chicago? A long time ago? Chicago. Mobsters and gang violence, old school gangs, were one of the reasons gun control was kicked in, including outlawing certain types of guns and stupid things like grenade launchers. I mean, okay, you shouldn't be allowed to have a grenade launcher, I guess, but if you look at how grenade launchers works, that's really is kind of a silly thing. It's basically a potato gun for a real gun. The whole thing here that is actually significant is that in 100% of the cases, you'd have more gun control occurrences if there was second shooters or more. If you have large numbers of people shooting, it's based on the number of guns. Paddock is an outlier because he used more than one gun. That's all. He was an absolute outlier because he was really, really well-to-do and could get away with getting a bunch of guns. Most people can't. The best they can do is get a couple of guns. Most mass shooters use a small number of weapons virtually every time. Paddock is an extreme outlier. I mean, ridiculously so. Cartoonishly so. I mean, I make fun of the video where we had a cartoon character walking up with full-size guns not torn down, up in an elevator. I mean, it's funny. It's a way of blowing off steam, though. But the majority of successful mass shootings are done by individuals, and you should be happy about that if you're a gun control freak. Because if it was an occurrence that we had mass shootings, gun control debate would be more gun confiscation debate. Because the problem would then be literally the number of guns. Not what they do, the number. Just like in Gangland Chicago, in New York, the gangs of everything. That was really the reason we have a lot of our gun control laws. It has nothing to do with you wanting to have a hunting rifle that looks like it's right out of the military. It doesn't. Stop making it about you. Nobody cares about you. And that's the reason you guys do this. It has nothing at all to do with thinking that there was a second shooter in Las Vegas. It all boils down to people who are paranoid about gun control. Every single time. Because if you dig around, you find out that's their only history before Las Vegas happened. That's why a lot of them hide their previous existence or hide who they are. Because really they're just memeing this shit. Did you forget about a gun also being found that didn't belong to the police? And again, you don't give any citations. This is X number of years later. What's the common name for the video? The Ace's Wild videos is a name that people use. Yes, you're being an asshole. That people post every once in a while into the video. Well, look it up by that name. Yeah, but they changed the channel changed its name. The original name was such and such. I mean, at least give me the old name that doesn't work anymore. You know, tease me a little bit, bitch. So anyway, horrible. Try again. Again, you're not trying. You're refusing to provide corroboration for your assertions. I don't do that. And again, you don't want multiple shooters because that would be a good reason to have gun control. Not a single shooter with multiple guns. Not the normal thing of 2 or 3 guns in a car. Literally the shotgun, rifle, and pistol. I mean, shit. Most of the people who've done mass shootings have literally had conventional weapons only. Things you wouldn't think for even a second of banning. You don't want armed assault rifle-looking thugs running around en masse. You don't want second shooters or helicopter gunmen. Because all the police would say, oh, we didn't do it. It was the Saudi prince. Well, then you'd have a reason for gun control. You guys don't really think, do you? No tactical sense whatsoever. You always do this to yourself. Again, you take a little itty-bitty part of the story which proves you right. The itty-bitty part was the entire story I was being told. I showed that it's not a viable shooting location because I actually know what the fuck I'm doing. You don't. Completely erase the rest of the story. The rest of the story I pointed a link to. And if you're talking about specifically Joe Napoli, he made an assertion he found some brass casings in a location and feels that's important. There's 2 other occurrences. One of them was right after the guy said he dropped his brass. It's a police officer, and that he talked about it. And the other one is a lady in an apartment building, which I'm going to try to figure out where she was in reference to all of this and see if she has something to offer. Maybe she did see something. I actually evaluate these things with an open mind. You fucking don't. You owe me an apology, you're not going to give it to me, so we'll just move on to the next person screaming at me for whatever reason. Is it an Opharian? You got to be kidding me. Why do you always do this? Oh, it's the same idiot. You cover just the part of the story that confirms your theory and completely leave out the rest of the story. Counterpoint. Show me a conservative website that covers both sides of the story without deliberately sandbagging one of them. I fucking dare you. I double dog shit dare you. And again, I've been told this is your narrative that you believe. Okay, what is your proof? Neener, neener. You don't give me any proof. In the case of Joe Napoli, it's a single person saying he saw something but did not provide any corroboration for. Okay, so I evaluated it without paying attention to him. His credibility is not relevant. Was the location a place a person could shoot from, period, full stop? No. Shut up. You do know many people reported getting shot at outside of the venue from a high spot where Paddock could shoot, and also people being confused and running away because, as I discovered, and you didn't learn anything at all, that when a bullet's fired, it can make multiple sounds from multiple locations, including the supersonic crack becoming a sound of another shot. And the impact. Any bullet fired can produce 3 or more sounds that sound like a gun going off to most people who don't shoot. The majority of people at that concert weren't shooters. They didn't know this. And most people who shoot guns don't know this because we don't go down range right where the bullet's going to go most of the time. It's just not something we normally do. And if we hear that, we get pucker factor. I only had a couple of times that happened, and I've been fired upon. The fuck are you talking about? Don't you, Crap Tech. Okay, I'm going to name the video Crap Tech. Oh, and some of the people reporting that were EMTs, emergency medical technicians, know about ballistics, who have been trained in these things. Okay, you don't give citations, you just gave vague assertions. I point to the video I edited to give you the sound bites that you guys always want to use because you always edit shit, to show you that yes, indeed, there is a video recording of a person saying he dropped brass at 5813 Giles Street. And he may not have been the only one. And that's authenticated brass. A person picked it up. That's one of 3 people you guys cite. You don't tell me that one, because that's right next to that one. And the other one is Joe Napoli, who provides no real good reason to even believe any of it. It's not that we're calling him a liar, it's that he didn't provide any useful information. And assuming he's not telling a lie, assuming he's telling the truth, it's a location that wouldn't be useful for shooting. Because people were going towards it, and it was crowded with people going away from the venue. No, they're not going to notice someone at ground level shooting. And now you're going to invoke helicopters and holograms? Do us a favor, buddy. Next time you do a video on some story, try covering the whole story. That was the entire story. Him standing there talking to Jason Goodman, or what, I think it's Jason Goodman, for X number of minutes is not relevant. The meat of it was, this is the location I was standing when I saw something. Okay. From that perspective, it's not useful in the story. I look for the part that's important. I'm not going to review 2 hours of conversation about something. It's not relevant. He's a witness to a single thing in the universe. I only covered what he witnessed. I'm not going to cover your assertions that he's a good Christian or that he's an ex-Marine or anything else that might come up. None of that is relevant. And yes, most of, if not all of what I covered was what proved me right, because I was trying to find out what happened. What happened is what I've just explained. It's not a long conversation. Why is it you need this long narrative that basically massages your brain into not asking, where was this? When was this? Did he take pictures? What evidence we have? Did anybody else see it? Those are questions you guys don't do because you don't question anything if it is something that confirms your feelings and belief. That's the part that bothers you, is that you're yelling about me only talking about the part that confirms my presumptions. I don't have any presumptions. I was assuming he saw brass. I wanted to know what happened. But honestly, I didn't cover it originally because there was no point. Nobody would tell me what he said or what video to look at. You guys even hide your evidence from me. What are you afraid of? That I might review it? You just took the story out of context. That's the entire context. Call me crap tech all you want. You're worse. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.